welcome to this week's episode of News for Normies. I am your host, Millennial Meditations, bringing you a week's worth of news in a short time frame. Thank you for watching and supporting. If you like this kind of content and you're tired of the corporate media going on and on about, fake news, or, if you like podcasts like myself and just don't enjoy long form content, hit that like button, subscribe, share with all your friends. And I know I've said it last couple weeks, might want to go watch this one on Rumble because of one particular clip I'm going to include that may get struck down on YouTube. Also, a little housekeeping. Last week I tried the NVIDIA AI studio voice thing. I am not going to use that from now on. I didn't like the way it made my voice sound, and it nearly crashed my computer when I was trying to edit the video. So apologies if this sounds weird. And if you have any recommendations for a good microphone that gets rid of the echoey sound in my voice, let me know, because I would like to possibly get something new in the future. Okay, on to the news. So last week I talked about that brawl that happened at the Cincinnati Jazz Festival, and because of that, these retards have been posting flyers around Cincinnati telling white people to arm themselves because of black crime. Apparently these flyers had a QR code linking to a KKK website, which I didn't even know the KKK was still around. But as I've said before, and I said in last week's video, if you think that, if you're part of a white supremacy group, you're a retard. There's no one race of people that's better than everybody else, okay? Sure, there are genetic differences. Some people are better at certain things than others, but no one person is superior to the other ones. And if you think that the white man is superior to all other races, which white people are you talking about? Because the British are different than the Germans, which are different than the French, which are different than the Italians, which are different than the Irish. So, could you pick one at least? Not just this vague, white man is better than everybody else, quote unquote. So, yeah, just figured I'd get that out of the way. And despite their message, I would encourage everyone, regardless of your skin color, to get your concealed carry permit, even if your state doesn't require it. Because one, you never know when a crazy person is going to enter a Walmart and start stabbing people. And two, states like mine in Ohio, we have a permitless carry law on the books now, which is great for being in the state of Ohio. But if you travel to another state, they may or may not have a concealed carry law. So it's good to just have that to keep yourself safe from the law. If you plan to travel out of state, or, like in the case of a couple guys at my work, they live in Kentucky but travel to Ohio to work. So just the interstate travel, it's good to just have the CCW permit to keep yourself safe from the law coming down on you in that regard. And again, white supremacy bad. Just want to make that blatantly clear. Okay. Now, speaking of guns, great segue there. Sadly, an active shooting happened at Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield in Georgia on August 6th. The shooter was identified as Army Sergeant Cornelius Radford and was reported to have used a personally owned handgun, not a military-issued sidearm. So I imagine the folks over at Sig Sauer are probably having a sigh of relief on that one. Although if it was a SIG M18, he probably would have shot himself instead. Anyway, Radford shot 5 fellow soldiers, but thankfully none died from their wounds. Wonder how he qualified with a pistol, by the way. Just had a thought about that. Anyway, the shooter was apparently facing a hearing on August 20th in Hinesville, Georgia, which is a small town close to Fort Stewart. And he was facing this hearing for a DUI and running a red light. So as of now, it is not entirely clear what his motive was for the shooting. But if I had to speculate, just my opinion, his personal life was probably in shambles, and he felt like he had nothing left to lose. So In a rare turn of events, Radford was tackled by another soldier on base and was arrested and taken to jail. So I say rare turn of events because most of the time with an active shooter, they usually take themselves out. Which is a little bit of foreshadowing for this next story. Another active shooting took place at Ohio University, not to be confused with Ohio State University, on August 7th. One female was shot in this incident, and the shooter was later found dead by suicide after he barricaded himself in an apartment, which is kind of what I alluded to a second ago. The female who was shot was taken to the hospital, but is likely to survive her injuries. And if I remember correctly, this is not the first active shooter situation that occurred at Ohio University, but I couldn't find a source for the previous one. I think it happened about 10, 12 years ago. And while I was trying to look, there was one that happened at Ohio State University in the past, not relevant to this story here. But with things like this happening, you always hear the left cry out, oh, we need gun control to save people's lives. So remember that some of the most heinous attacks on schools have occurred when the perpetrator used something other than an AR-15. For example, in 1927, a man named Andrew Kehoe killed 38 children and 6 adults, including his own wife, using explosives hidden under the Bath Township School in Bath Township, Michigan. He also took himself out by loading his truck with explosives and clacking it off at one point, which injured other people. So very reminiscent of the Timothy McVeigh Oklahoma City bombing that happened, where he used a moving truck filled with fertilizer and explosives and killed over 800 people. Next, on August 1st, 1966, Marine Corps veteran Charles Whitman took up a position from the clock tower at the University of Texas and killed 15 people while injuring 31 others. Whitman also stabbed his wife and mother to death before he committed this shooting. Whitman used several bolt-action rifles, 3 different handguns, and a shotgun that he illegally sawed the buttstock and barrel off for easier concealment. I think we all remember the Virginia Tech shooting that took place on April 16th of 2007, and the shooter killed 32 people while wounding 17 others using a 9mm pistol and a .22 caliber pistol. And if you're not familiar with those sizes, ironically, on my shirt here, covered it by the beard, let's see, you've got the .22 long rifle right here, and the 9mm right next to it. These are not, actual life-size depictions of those rounds, but the .22 caliber is much smaller than 9mm. And finally, the most famous school shooting that happened, the Columbine High School shooting in 1999 was carried out by 2 shooters named Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. These 2 killed 13 students and 1 teacher, as well as themselves in the end, and they used 12-gauge shotguns, a 9mm carbine, and a 9mm pistol. They also attempted to use homemade bombs, but thankfully the bombs were faulty and did not go off. Side note, the shooter at the Covenant Christian School in Nashville, Tennessee, that shot up that school in 2023, essentially worshipped the Columbine shooters and thought about shooting up a different school, but chose the Covenant Christian School because of the lack of security on the premises. So when people talk about gun control and wanting to ban AR-15s, keep these in mind. These are examples of psychos targeting kids or young adults in the case of the Virginia Tech shooting, and used things other than AR-15s. And speaking of gun control, Jim Acosta recently held an interview with an AI ghost.
Joaquin, I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin.
So first off, this AI bot sounds more like a robot than a person. And the video was like on the verge of that whole uncanny valley thing that people talk about. And it's just weird. Second, why would the parents of the victim even be okay doing this? I understand the sentiment for wanting to talk about gun control and keeping kids safe, but using the likeness of a dead kid that is now portrayed as an adult seems tone deaf and cringy to me, you know. And as I just said, the Covenant school shooter was going to target a different school first, but because of, you know, better security on the premises, they chose the school that had lesser security. So that goes back to my argument I've made in the past of having more than just a, you know, a frumpy resource officer on school property to keep kids safe. You know, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear other solutions, I guess. But speaking of being tone deaf, rumors are speculating that the Howard Stern show is also being canceled in the near future. The contract for Stern will be ending soon, and SiriusXM may offer him a new contract for much less money than they were before. So essentially making him an offer that he will refuse. Just like we saw with Stephen Colbert, this seems to be a combination of financial issues for the show and the political bent that Stern has taken in the last several years. And I say that with Colbert because his show was losing a ton of money because people were not watching because they were tired of being lectured by wealthy liberals. It shows, or let me rephrase that. Howard Stern was known as a shock jock in the 90s, as seen in this video here that did not age very well at all.
Everything I'm going to say here tonight, so it's all right. Ain't that right, you smelly nigger?
I didn't write that.
Well, you is a smelly nigger. I got some more jokes for your New Year's Eve party there.
You're not tired of this.
And don't be racially offended, cause Whoopi done wrote them for me, okay? Here we go.
Go ahead.
Black hole.
Black
You're
hole.
gonna love this. Hey, look at that. What do I loves most about the Whoopi? Yeah.
Such a great timing.
Hey, Robin, what does you call a black rocket scientist?
I don't know,
A
Ted.
nigger. Whoopi wrote it. Whoopi wrote it. Hey, did you happen to notice this?
No, what
this
is that?
This here's my mother, Mama Dancing. Why, she done working blackface too.
She must be very proud.
Yeah.
Now I know you really love me, Ted. You the man.
I tell you, you the man. What done happened to Sherman's career? It's really over the end. I want you to give us a kiss, you smelly cog-hat coon. I love you.
May I say something
Yeah.
here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can say whatever you want, you smelly nigga. Whoopi wrote that.
That's it, Ted. You didn't know I was going to say that. Whoopi had no chance to write it. I don't accept that kind of language. You can call her whatever you want, but you don't talk to me that way or I'll leave.
Well, don't let the door hit you on your big black ass, mama, on the way out of here. Now, where was I?
But in the last several years, Stern has gone ultra liberal, criticizing people over the COVID stuff and Donald Trump and all that kind of happy horse shit. And as we saw with Colbert, the average person in America is fed up with wealthy liberals berating others simply for their political beliefs. So, good riddance to Howard Stern. I can't say I've ever listened to his show. And again, go woke, go broke. Maybe he should have had Sydney Sweeney on a show at one point. And, speaking of giant media corporations, some good news. Gina Carano won her lawsuit against Disney / Lucasfilms over her firing from The Mandalorian because of a meme that she posted in 2020. Carano was fired in 2021, but she filed a lawsuit in 2024 with the backing of Elon Musk. If you don't remember, she posted a meme essentially equating modern day politics in the United States to what was the lead up in Germany for the Nazi regime taking over and committing the Holocaust. And she equated the left of being the Nazi regime, which I pretty much agree with. every time we've seen somebody speak out against the left, they try to be canceled and labeled as a racist and, all that stuff. So I'm sure you could find the meme. I didn't find it here, but I'm sure you can find it. However, a Disney spokesperson said that they look forward to working with Gina Carano again in the future, but if I was in her shoes, I would give them the middle finger and take my employment elsewhere. So yeah, that's that. Now, moving on to trying to make America healthy again, videos have been popping up on social media showing people being outraged that they can't buy junk food with SNAP or EBT.
So y'all mean to tell me I can't buy no snacks off my EBT card? I'm in here shopping, trying to get all my good snacks. Trying to get all my good snacks and shit. See this? All that. Going straight to the buggy with me. All those nice good seeds. But and y'all, for me to get to the register, they couldn't find out I can't buy no more snacks on my EBT card. Tell me I'm ashamed. And tell me that must be ain't true. And so the damn people behind me in line say I must be ain't read the news. Cause baby, why the fuck am I doing with them trying at the house with no snacks and I got to buy cash? Y'all might as well cut my EBT card off there. Now ain't no way Trump did no shit like that. The fuck?
In my opinion, I like to see this. I think if you want treats, work for it. I'm tired of taxpayer money subsidizing corporations like Coca-Cola and Doritos through, public assistance. And also, if you're showing up to the grocery store with freshly done nails and eyelashes, you clearly have money to spend because you can't buy nails and eyelashes with SNAP or EBT. So why are you using public welfare programs? You know what I mean? This kind of thing is exactly what pisses off blue-collar Americans who work 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week to barely make ends meet, but then you got people showing up all dead to go to the grocery store and buy junk food. Anyway, moving on. in similar fashion to make America healthy again, RFK Jr. has banned certain vaccines and ingredients in vaccines, as well as canceling 22 mRNA vaccines at the cost of roughly $500 million to taxpayers. Additionally, RFK Jr. has been critical of thimerosal, a mercury-based preservative used in flu vaccines, as well as aluminum salts in vaccines, which are used to enhance immune response once the vaccine is administered. Now, I am no epidemiologist. I'm just a dude on the internet. I think that vaccines that have been around for decades are good, like polio, tetanus, measles, things like that. However, the vaccine schedule for kids in the late 80s was almost 80 vaccines. Now it's over double of that. With that being said, I'm curious if the amount of vaccines given at one time to kids while they are growing and developing has an effect on them, not just any one particular vaccine. After all, it has been known for a long time that mercury is bad for one's health. As we, the Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter, that term came from people in the past who made leather goods using mercury as a tanning agent to keep the leather from, degrading, and they'd go crazy. Also, Alzheimer's researchers have theorized that excessive exposure to aluminum can increase one's chance for Alzheimer's disease. Now, as I said, I'm not an epidemiologist. The thimerosal, which is the mercury-based ingredient, I'm sure it's different than just mercury that's on the periodic table and things like that. Just curious about these things, and if you happen to be a vaccine expert, please let me know. Because, like I said, I am just a dude on the internet. Now, moving on to some serious things. Another potential assassination on Trump was thwarted in Florida. Try saying that 3 times fast. A man was arrested at Palm Beach International Airport and was in possession of an AR-15, several magazines, numerous knives, and cocaine. He was also a felon before this, so he's being charged for possession of a firearm as a felon, along with trespassing and possession of cocaine. And again, goes back to my earlier arguments about gun control. He was already a convicted felon. He shouldn't have had that gun. Somehow he got it. Laws didn't stop him from doing that. So, there you go. Now, one moment here. Now we're on to the Trump segment of the show. First off, the Trump administration is planning to withhold federal disaster relief money to states that boycott Israeli companies. I completely disagree with this, as you should not be punished by the government for your beliefs and convictions. And it just adds more fuel to the fire for those who think Israel controls the United States. People should be critical of all governments, regardless of which country it is. And I do not believe that criticism of the Israeli government is equal to anti-Semitism. And again, I'm pointing guns at both sides of the aisle here because you have the right, forgive me here, you have the right that just is mostly evangelical Christians that never want to hear any criticism of the Israeli government whatsoever. And then you have the left, which is always critical of Israel. And to some of that, I do agree. Not completely, but some of it. So because of this and several of the debacles so far in the second Trump term, it seems that his popularity has seen a major drop. A poll from YouGov has recently shown that 70% of people polled do not think the Trump administration has handled the Epstein debacle well. And I imagine that with the Epstein stuff on top of things like the disaster relief is really driving his popularity down. And I think Trump should take note of this as he is a people pleaser, we know, and maybe course correct a little bit. Now, some good news from the Trump administration. It seems like this was just yesterday. President Trump signed a directive for the Pentagon to begin using military force against drug cartels in Mexico. When Trump took office again, he designated drug cartels as terrorist organizations, which he should have. And because of this, Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, who totally Mexican name, sternly rejected this. However, as an American taxpayer, I fully support this, as illegal drugs kill upwards of 80,000 people per year in my country. So if you refuse to get your house in order that's right next to mine, something has to change. And I can hear the left already, with I don't know, because they want the full-scale war in Ukraine, but not Israel in Gaza. So anyway, to address the forever wars thing, I think this is a good step toward a modern-day Monroe Doctrine that would basically say, Europe, you can take care of all your stuff over there. We're going to take care of our stuff on this side of the world, and that's that. So, again, I like this one. Now, this is an interesting story. Trump wants to build a nuclear facility on the moon. Sean Duffy, the chief at NASA, has expedited the timeline to build this nuclear reactor with the end goal of producing 100 kilowatts of power, which is enough to run about 80 homes. President Trump wants to put people on the moon again by 2030, so take that, moon landing deniers. But at this time, I do not know if Elon Musk will get those contracts to take people there, but it does seem that Musk and Trump have made up. And I'm also curious as if this is another step to take people to Mars and eventually establish some kind of colony on Mars. So we'll see. I don't know. I kind of like the fact of putting people on Mars. I don't know why. I just do. Also, Trump is floating the idea of federalizing the Washington, D.C. police after a Doge team member was beaten in the street while protecting his girlfriend when a group of thugs, and that's exactly what they are, thugs, tried to steal their car. And here's a picture of him and a tweet that was made to Trump about the guy who is nicknamed Big Balls. And it is reported that the Doge guy was the man previously nicknamed Big Balls. And if it is the same guy, then the nickname is definitely accurate. So he should never drink in any bar and pay for it himself. This is exactly what we need in the U.S. However, actually, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. In the same vein, a D.C. Metro Police commander was placed on leave after it was revealed that he was falsifying crime data. Yeah, and we saw this all over the country in 2020 when the left was going crazy, burning things down, and you had the corporate media outlets saying, "Oh no, violent crime stats have actually dropped." Well, turns out a lot of those crime statistics were being fudged, and in this case, you have something like a potential carjacking was just classified as a minor assault. So glad to see this guy go. But finally, this is another example of Democrat policies ruining a city, as you cannot get a CCW license in DC at all. So when people cannot protect themselves and you have to constantly rely on the police, you get this kind of stuff. So again, this is why I do not agree with gun control, as it only causes more crime to happen. And as I've said before, in my home state of Ohio, we have had permitless carry for several years now. And funny enough, 6 of the 8 major cities in Ohio saw violent crime go down. The only 2 that did not see this kind of drop were Cincinnati and Dayton. Funny. Now, moving on. Trump is calling for a mid-decade census that would not count illegal aliens currently in this country. So it would only be for people who are legal citizens of this country. While I agree with this idea 100%, I am not entirely sure how this will be done. Because if you just fill out a piece of paper, then you can lie on that very easily. People are saying, primarily people on the left are saying that this is illegal and unconstitutional. However, they are lying through their teeth, as this is completely untrue. It is rare that a mid-decade census like this happens, but it is not illegal. And that moves me to my next story, which I'm sure everybody's heard of. This ends our Trump segment of the show. Texas GOP has greenlit arrest warrants for Democrats who fled the state with the intent of blocking a vote, on redistricting within the state. And Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is looking for a judge who will vacate the seats of those Democrats who left the state. The Texas House of Representatives have also stated that they will consider any donation to the Democrats who fled as bribery and will pursue legal action against them as well. I've heard rumors that they're looking at Beto O'Rourke's PAC or whatever. I didn't know that he was still around and active in politics. You'd think he would have got the message after losing every single thing he ran for, but we'll see. So why is the left getting their panties in a bunch on this one? The redistricting proposed in Texas would give roughly 5 more seats in Congress to Republicans in D.C. Similarly, Kathy Hochul chimed in on the matter with this clip here.
If Republicans are willing to rewrite these rules to give themselves an advantage, then they're leaving us no choice. We must do the same. There's a phrase, you have to fight fire with fire. All's fair in love and war. That's why I'm exploring with our leaders every option to redraw our state congressional lines as soon as possible. We're already working on a legislative process, reviewing our legal strategies, and we'll do everything in our power to stop this brazen assault.
And it's funny to me that you have Democrats like Kathy Hochul and Illinois Governor Pritzker who say, oh, we're going to gerrymander to counter Texas. You've already done it to the most you can. Like, you've already fucked up your state so bad that you've gotten what you wanted. So I personally like to see Republicans finally growing a pair and going on the offense against Democrats in this kind of lawfare. I think it is long overdue. And if you're on the right and you say, oh no, we shouldn't do this, why? The left tried to arrest Trump on, literally trumped up charges, which I'll actually get to here in a minute. They arrested his lawyers. Like, we have the mugshot of Trump from the Georgia jail. Like, the Democrats have been using lawfare to go after Trump and people on the right. So why have we waited this long to do the same? See what I mean? All right, where was I at here? Oh yeah, so people on the left are claiming that the Republicans are doing this in a move of racism and stuff like that. Remember that both parties gerrymander and redraw districts all the time to benefit themselves. And this has been a practice going on since the 4th president of the United States. That's where the term gerrymandering comes from, because the vice president, his name was Jerry, so he kind of started it. And to put a pin on this one, when you have a large exodus of people from shithole states like California to other states like Texas, the former congressional lines don't really make sense. And then you literally have taxation without representation. And especially in Texas, where a growing number of Hispanic men are turning more Republican than ever before, because they're seeing the light to the insanity of the left, constantly wanting the sanctuary cities that only draw in the type of crime that they wanted to leave from Mexico and other countries, but then you just invite it here, so then it's like, why did I leave that shithole country? Yeah. Also, I've heard too, like up in New England, was it like Massachusetts? There are no Republican representatives in DC, even though 40% of the state votes Republican. So again, I feel like that's representation, or I'm sorry, you're still taxing those people, but they have no representative that agrees with them. So it's almost like taxation without representation. Again, it's kind of one of the things that the whole American Revolution was based on. So anyway, again, if you think I'm out of line on this one, let me know. All right, so kind of hinted at it a second ago, but Democrat Adam Schiff is facing some legal issues for mortgage fraud. This comes after Schiff has been accused of misrepresenting which home is his primary residence. According to the Daily Mail, quote, the Department of Justice last month received a criminal referral from the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA, alleging Schiff falsified bank documents and property records to secure better loan terms, end quote. This sounds an awful lot like what the Democrats accused Trump of doing with Mar-a-Lago, even though when the dust settled, the banks that Trump worked with said the exact opposite in regards to Trump. They said that he paid back all the money he owed. They would love to do business with him again in the future, et cetera, et cetera. So, regardless of that, I find it absolutely absurd that any national level politician has multiple homes, but still claims to fight for the working class of the country. People like Adam Schiff. I'll even throw Donald Trump under that one. And most importantly here, Bernie Sanders, because he has like 3 different homes, but claims he's working for the hardworking Americans in this country. All right, well, if you want to help with the housing crisis, sell 2 of your homes to people who can afford them, and not BlackRock either. Moving on to more Democrat insanity, Elizabeth Warren says that Zohran Mamdani's message of, quote, from each according to their ability to each according to their need, end quote, is the message of the Democrat Party. Like I've said, the DNC is slowly becoming the Communist Party of America. And if you don't believe me, here's a clip of her talking about Zohran Mamdani's plan with him present.
When someone stands up and says, I will lead this city by making it more affordable, and here are my plans, real plans, plans to deliver on childcare, plans to deliver on housing, plans to deliver, we're going to experiment, we're going to try things on groceries. That is the Democratic message.
Yeah, let's experiment with communism again, even though it's never worked and resulted in in roughly 150 million people dead in the 20th century alone. If you don't believe me, I'm going to pin my video about communism at the end of this video for you to watch. And I give you 3 examples of communism in the 20th century and the end results, which I kind of just spoiled here in this little segment. So moving on, CIA Director John Ratcliffe has hinted at indictments for Hillary Clinton, James Clapper, John Brennan, Comey, and others. So far, subpoenas have been issued for Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and several former attorneys general involved with Epstein. Again, I like to see the lawfare against the Democrats. However, I highly doubt that any new information will come forth from this, and they will likely just, cite the Fifth Amendment, and that'll be that. So, if we get something, I'll be surprised. Excuse me. And again, more insanity from the left. An ICE facility was the target of another attack in Washington state. Someone threw a rock through a window and then set fire near the building. Thankfully, nobody was hurt in this attack, but it is sadly another example of the insanity of the left. Also, why wouldn't they have, shatterproof windows? Just a thought, because we've seen attacks on ICE ramp up over 830% in the last, year or so. So you'd think that after ICE agents have been shot at and things like that, they would install some, bulletproof windows, something that a rock couldn't go through, but whatever. Coming to an end here, I guess it's not new, but a mosquito-borne virus has popped up in China. The chikungunya virus has over 8,000 confirmed cases in the Guangdong province of the country. I feel like I nailed both of those. It doesn't seem that people in North America should be concerned right now, as this virus is only transferable by mosquito bites at this time. And to my knowledge, no cases have been confirmed in America as of yet. However, people can protect themselves from this by using common bug sprays when they're outside, keeping areas of skin covered as much as possible. And according to the CDC, 2 different vaccines are available for this virus in the United States. So if you're concerned about this, go talk to your doctor, see what they say. And finally, wrapping up on 2 more little stories, Israel plans to take total occupation of Gaza. I'm not surprised by that at all. According to Newsweek, quote, the Prime Minister's office also conveyed a message to Lieutenant General Ayel Zamir, the Army's chief of staff, saying, quote, if this does not suit him, you should resign, end quote, end quote. I've kind of been saying this for a while. The whole Israel-Gaza thing has been going on for literally centuries, almost 2 millennia. And one of 2 things has to happen. Either one side completely wins, or an outside party comes in and smacks both of them down and takes control. That second option is not going to happen, so it seems like this will. What will be the end result? Don't know, but as I learn things, I will keep you posted. And finally, this is one I didn't talk about a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to now because it's just kind of ironic. France has reversed course on a policy that would bring in refugees from Gaza. a couple weeks ago, it was announced that they would, and I guess they started bringing people in. But this course correction, if you will, stemmed from a Gazan woman attending college in France posting anti-Semitic remarks on social media. This is probably a smart move on France's part, as we've seen in other European countries like the UK, where, Muslim rape gangs have been ravaging cities there, but nobody's allowed to talk about it because then it's seen as, Islamophobic or whatever. So, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I would highly encourage you look up a guy by the name of Tommy Robinson. He did an interview with Patrick Bet-David a couple months ago. I'm sure you could find that really easily. So, again, probably smart to not do this or course correct on this on the side of France. So, I have rambled long enough. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, hit that like button, share, subscribe, all those good things. And if you've made it this far, I will say that tomorrow, as I record this, that would be August 10th, I am planning on doing a video game live stream with some friends around noon Eastern Standard Time on Rumble. So if you want to tune in, say hi, make fun of me, whatever you want to do, I'd love to see you there. So with that being said, I'm going to go take care of some house projects, and I will see you all next week. Take care.